In a speech which was made 3 years ago by Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman when he announced the charges that had been placed on R. Kelly, he also did narrate the story of what he thinks happened between the accuser, who goes by the name Prada Fitting, and the defendant. If listening to the story doesn't make you laugh your lungs out to miss the rest of it, you will then be able to detect the conspiracy as Freeman twists the words to imply that R. Kelly may have in a way enticed the said 17-year-old woman, when he details how she was later invited to attend his concert with a VIP seating, and describes this as a special privilege considering this was an important event meant for 18-year-olds and above in his opinion. He also briefly mentions an arrangement to travel to Chicago, which R. Kelly allegedly later turned down, and changed his mobile phone number, as though to suggest he had intentions to transport her across state lines. In the first case, where Mike Freeman refers to the VIP invitation to watch a concert as a special privilege, he was trying so hard to introduce an enticement charge onto R. Kelly's charge sheet, but he just had no evidence of this and thought by referring to an invitation to attend a concert as a special privilege he would convince the court it was enticement. He however forgets and mentions the invitation as something that happened after the alleged illegal events, with nothing mentioned as activity that followed the concert. Well, you cannot entice after the intended goal is alleged. It just doesn't make grammatical sense, and that he fouled himself miserably. And when he hints about the possibility the two were making arrangements for her to travel to Chicago, he is just hungry to introduce the Mann Act charges into the same case, just as was done in the New York episode. It appears these and the RICO are the only charges they felt they could successfully pin on R. Kelly, even if he didn't really commit any crime. It all looks ugly as he tried to bend the conversation towards justification of the intended usual charges, something which the script he had written was all along meant to achieve. Take a look.
I'm Mike Freeman, Hennepin County Attorney, and I'm here to announce that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office has charged R. Kelly with 2 counts. One of engaging in prostitution with an individual under 18 years of age, and one for hiring or offering to hire for sexual purposes with a person under 18. This event occurred in July of 2001. The victim was under 18 at the time. She was attempting to obtain an autograph from Mr. Kelly. He gave it to her, and also gave her a phone number and told her to call him. When she called him, she was directed to go to his hotel, where she was met with a member of his staff and ushered up to his hotel suite. After some discussion, she was offered $200 to take her clothes off and to dance before him. She accepted the $200. He got naked, and they proceeded to dance. She was also, at the completion of that, she was also invited to and had the opportunity to have a VIP seating to see the concert. And as she was under 18, it was a performance for 18 and older only, so that was a special privilege. There was some discussion about him going to Chicago, but that diminished when she called the number again. Initially, he talked with her briefly, but he was very hoarse. But thereafter, the phone number was changed. That was the extent of the contact. This kind of conduct, particularly juveniles, is simply not acceptable in the state of Minnesota, or frankly anywhere. She was a juvenile at the time. We have special laws to protect our juveniles, and we are going to enforce them. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office has consistently been victim-centered. We care about our victims, and we want to represent them and to support them. When we learned about this case from a tip line centered in Chicago, Minneapolis police did a nice job of investigating the case, talked with the victim and the victim's brother, and accordingly we have charged it. He is presently, as we understand it, in custody in New York, so exactly the time that he will come to Minnesota is unclear.
This is exactly how the government prosecutors were cooking charges and using them to derive the story behind, instead of going the other way round where the story determines the charges. But again, Mike Freeman rushes to concede when he adds that R. Kelly's number was eventually changed, meaning he was not interested at all in having this alleged survivor travel to Chicago to meet him. The sound of regret in the Hennepin County Attorney while he mentioned the canceled travel to Chicago clearly shows he wishes R. Kelly had actually transported this alleged survivor across state lines, such that he could also use this against him to beef up his charge sheet with yet another major alleged violation of the Mann Act. Meaning the safety of the alleged victim was never the primary interest of the government but the opportunity to pin down the R&B king to a point of wishing he had actually committed these crimes. Having gotten what they wanted, which was to lock up R. Kelly for the rest of his life regardless of whether he was guilty or innocent, Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman now finds no real use of proceeding with the very same charges he mentioned in this speech, where he made empty promises to the alleged victim suggesting such conduct is not acceptable in the state of Minnesota, and has now changed goalposts as if to say the alleged Minnesota victim no longer deserves the justice he promised her 3 years ago. His speech from 3 years ago is now even ugly to watch or listen to, considering it only shows that the government was never after finding justice for anyone, but to take down and lock up the R&B king for the rest of his life. They wanted this so much that at this point in time, having been shaken to the core by the presence of attorney Jennifer Bonjean back in Chicago, they would rather not try to put up another legal fight with her going forward in order to guard what's left of the already low-rated wrongful convictions. Of course, if you know that you have a wrongfully convicted man, and that you have him right where you want him, when the grounds are getting shaky a lot, threatening to spill your dirty secrets, you wouldn't want to engage in yet another ugly lawsuit with the same person in fear the ugly secrets could get exposed. This is why the government is opting to play safe. Meanwhile, we are talking allegations of events that took place 20 years back, as early as 2001. Just as was the case in Chicago and New York, the statute of limitations safeguard was completely ignored, and one is left to wonder how the Hennepin County Attorney was able to prove the events described in the story actually occurred the way they were narrated by the said accuser. And according to the Minnesota state laws, the accuser, who is said to have been 17 years old then, was technically above the age of consent, which lies at 16. According to Leave Laugh Love, I knew it from day one. Robert Sylvester Kelly was set up to make it look like he enticed young women to be with him, and that he preferred to cross borders to indulge with them, which was never the case. All this was done by the shady government in their desperate attempt to justify the enticement and Mann Act charges. Thankfully, we have this kind of video evidence in form of footage to show how these charges were crafted and curved out of nothing. R. Kelly did not need to entice anyone to be with him, or to transport anyone across state lines primarily for the purpose of committing crimes. Women were literally running to him like they still will when he finally gets out of prison. All he forgot to do was brush them away and leave, but he didn't need to entice nobody. The enticement charges therefore smuggled in as they were ought to be dropped not only in state court but also at the federal appeal. According to Marilyn Jefferson, just like R. Kelly said it, you just don't want to believe me, but everybody else can come around and say what they want to say about me, and you choose to believe their account of the story. It even looks so ugly to see the Hennepin County Attorney come to the media to narrate such a disgusting story of a woman who made her choice to run after a grown man just because he is R. Kelly, and later on tried to use the event for monetary gain in hope of receiving restitutions. At this rate, considering the so-called survivors' details are kept private, we could end up getting some ghost survivors who don't really exist. It looks like for as long as the state attorney can come up with an intriguing story, they are free to register a case and make a press conference to announce a new Jane Doe. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.